Following the health and economic emergencies caused by COVID-19 pandemic, President Muhammadu Buhari established the Economic Sustainability Committee on March 2020, chaired by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to develop a clear economic sustainability plan in response to challenges posed by COVID-19. Amongst other objectives of the Economic Sustainability Plan is to provide a fiscal and monetary stimulus package, including support for private businesses, with emphasis on strategic sectors most affected by the pandemic and vulnerable segments of the population. Months after the implementation of different components of the plan, MSME Survivor Funds, Social Housing Scheme, and Solar Home System, amongst others, the federal government says it is evident that the implementation of the Economic Sustainability Plan, ESP, has gained traction and arguably is achieving the desired impact on the Nigerian economy, leading to the country's technical recovery from recession in the fourth quarter of 2020. The big question now is, how well has the plan impacted Nigerians, and what are the prospects of the plan for Nigerian economic growth forecast in the year 2021? Well, to provide answers to these questions and others, I have joining me, she's a finance manager at JNC International Limited, Mrs. Yemisi Shola Oyegbade. Thank you very much for your time, Mrs. Oyegbade.
Thank you, Tolu. Thank you for having me. Good to be on the show once again.
Yes, it's really good to have you on the show, particularly at this time where I'm being whipped. They're telling me that I need gender balance on this show. I need to have more ladies. So thank you very much. Let's start on that note. Let me throw this to you. How did that come to you? We thought that we were going to get out of recession. The projections was for quarter 1, 2021. But somehow, quarter 4 of 2020, Nigeria was able to marginal growth, 0.11%. And many are saying it is due to this economic sustainability plan. First, how will you react to this figure, 0.11% growth experienced in the economy?
Okay, thank you, Tolu. Once again, thanks for having me. Before we go to react to the 0.11 technical growth that the economy experienced in Q4 of 2020, I would like to shed more light on the economic sustainability plan of the federal government. It was a response by the government to ensure that the effect of the looming recession, global recession, was moderated, considering that the economy was not in a good state then. And it was also identified, some challenges were identified. The economy was not in a good state, and we have dwindling resource base. And these measures were preferred: the fiscal measures, the monetary measures, the real sector measures, like you earlier mentioned. And looking at most of this, by the time you try to research most of the measures, most of the programs on the ESP, you realize that the government is trying to tick most of the boxes. I would call it ticking the boxes because you can't really feel the effect, the impact in the lives of many of the populace of the country. So talking about that being the impact, what was responsible for the technical recovery that we experienced in Q4 of 2020. While I would say it is not unconnected, but we can't totally attribute the success, the recovery, to the full implementation, because we know that for some of these plans, it's just the government boxes. For example, for the housing scheme, the supposed to be mass housing scheme, 300 homes were launched. I think 300,000 homes, according to the ESP, were launched in November, but as of now, I don't think anything has been done yet. There was the monetary policy measures that the CBN had rolled out. Quite a number of things have been done. There was supposed to be convergence of the rate. The rate is still very far apart, although we know that they are moving close. I mean, the official rate is moving close to the parallel rate. So in my opinion, it is part of it, but I won't say. Also, another thing I can say attributed to it is that, towards the end of the year, in Q4, there's a lot of spending. Companies want to spend down their budget and all of those things. So it might not really be, but it cannot be unconnected to the reason why we witnessed the technical exit from recession in Q4 of 2020.
Okay, moving forward, 5 million solar installations are expected across the country. You just touched on the social mass housing scheme. Let's look at the job creation aspect of all of this. Do you see this creating more jobs for Nigerians at this time? Even the UK came out today with 5.1% unemployment rate figures.
Well, for us in Nigeria, we've always said it, we don't lack policy. The issue is always implementation. If these policies will be implemented to the letter, the way they've been mapped out, we should see the growth. We should see the job creation. I mean, but we also know what the economy is in stagflation right now. You have the inflation rate is up there, you have the unemployment rate up at the same time, and you have the CBN trying to battle these twin demons, trying to combat them. For the solar panels, yes, it will bring about the job creation, and across all the other sectors. For agriculture, we know that agriculture also did well, but for the insecurity in the country, maybe we would have done better. If implementation is done well, all those things will bring about the required results.
Let's go back to something that's also very important, and I know you would like to talk about this. It's about the synergy between the fiscal and the monetary side. Many have talked about this, talking about the central bank biting more than it can chew. At the moment, I think the central bank governor is even facing the joint house committee to defend himself on issues around cryptocurrency and all of that. But what do you make of this synergy? Are we getting better than what we used to have? Because I see they should be consolidating each other.
Well, the central bank is trying. The federal government is trying. But it's just that I think it's all about not having the right policies or the right implementation to the policies. For example, now I watched a program about the agricultural sector and policies that were to be implemented for that sector. And well, that could be the opinion of the person, given the interview. The opinion was that when these policies were being put together, the practitioner, private sector wasn't consulted, and you realize that the policy is not really being implemented the way it should. The federal government and the monetary and the fiscal policy, the intermarriage has not really been. In fact, in my opinion, I would say that the central government, the central bank has been doing more of the muscling. For this ESP, the budget was 2.3 trillion naira, about $5.9 billion. But by the time we look at it, we realize that it is the central bank that has been coming up with monetary policy, that came up with the loan to deposit ratio to make sure that there is sufficient funding for the real sector of the economy at affordable rates. We know that the federal government also tries to do all this support, trader money and all of those things. But I would say there's not been much synergy, and most of the brunt of the work is being borne by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The federal government needs to do more. And this has always been what we've been talking. The federal government needs to do more. The federal government needs to do more. Most of the work is on the central bank. And I don't think we should say that way.
Yeah, everyone is always saying the federal government needs to do more. But at this time, we know what's happening with revenue. There's a shortfall with regards to revenue, thanks to the increase in the price of crude oil that is making us see, and the attendant effect also on the price of PMS at the pumps. Now, Nigerians have a lot to grapple with at the moment. One is inflation. Another is hiking electricity tariff. And another thing is talking about PMS, which will obviously go up as long as the price of crude continues to go to the high side. Now, what do you make of this as a Nigerian at this time? What kind of 2021 do you expect us to have? We just left the pandemic. The second wave is still on.
Well, the primary thing that I think, don't let me use that word. The primary thing that I think the government should do, because part of the fiscal measures that they wanted to implement was, they call it, I think, responsible spending. They need to prioritize their spend. They need to cut down on non-essential spend. Yeah, that was the word. Cut down on non-essential spend. I think, personally, the cost of governance is too huge for this country. The cost of governance keeps on ballooning, and revenue keeps on going down. If Nigeria was a company, we would have done something about it. We can't continue to sustain, the kind of structure that we had when the economy was good, and still continue to sustain it now. Without that has to be some cost across board, across most of the organizations. People have had to cut down on some things. Some people have had to take off to stay at their job. But no, for us, that's what it is. So For 2021 for the Nigerian, the average Nigerian citizen, is not going to be a bed of roses. I mean, inflation is at 16.47. This is unbelievable. At 16.47. I just pray that we continue to have the kind of positive impact we've been having in the oil revenue, and then the surplus from that is going to be put to adequate use and appropriate use. Probably if that is done, Nigerians can look to at least have some form of reprieve in their pockets. Their disposable income would increase a little. But really, for Nigerians to really enjoy 2021, something has to be done about the rising inflation, which is occasioned by insecurity and the rising cost of food prices in the country.
When you talk food prices, I get worried because a lot of issues to contend with now, the security situation and all of this. Now, with these figures coming in, are you seeing any shift? Do you think the MPC meeting, the coming MPC meeting, maybe there will be a shift with regards to rates, looking at what inflation is bringing out and with what the reality we have on ground? Many say there might still be a retention. But to you, what do you think? Do you think this will make the committee shift in any way?
Well, it's either of both ways, because we've seen in recent weeks that the central bank has increased yield. I mean, the yield on the federal government bonds has increased, and we've seen that leading to an exodus of capital from the stock market into the fixed income market. Because I mean, it didn't make sense that inflation was at 16.47 and yields were way below that. So that could be return. They could retain the rate, but I would say so that there's going to be synergies, that there's going to be an alignment between what the central bank is doing and the MPC rate. They might want to notch up the rate a little.
Now, if we see that this growth experience in the last quarter of 2020 is mainly from telecommunications, looking at the ICT and all of the sectors that we identified now, away from oil, mostly non-oil, does it not bring back the fact that we need to think deep about totally diversifying our economy? And clearly it even seems like our economy is already diversified. A lot just needs to be done to promote exports and all of that.
Yes, you're very correct. I mean, by the time you look at the Q4 GDP figures that came out, you saw that the non-oil sector did very well, though not as well as it did in 2019, but it did better by far than the oil sector. And yeah, rightly you might say that there's some form of that diversification. I think one of the fiscal measures that the government had planned to implement was to ensure that VAT was implemented well. And I think you could see that VAT revenue actually grew in that period. So for growth in 2021, the government really, because I will use this analogy. So many people want to lose weight, but how many people are really willing to commit to the discipline that comes with losing weight? It's just saying lip service. We know the things to do, but are we willing? Are we ready to do what needs to be done? The government wanted to deregulate the oil sector. There was some form of deregulation initially. But what we've seen has been done is a leash deregulation. I mean, it's not full range deregulation, where you find a situation whereby even though prices are topsy-turvy, prices are coming up and down, the local PMS price in-house is not really reflective of that. Our prices are continuously upward and they are downward sticky. If the government can pay more than lip service, we have a lot of policies in Nigeria. It's not for lack of policy, but it is the willpower to be able to do what needs to be done. It might not be easy. I was one of the few people, the time when we had the border closure, and everybody was like, this is not going to help Nigeria and all of that. I keep on telling myself, and I've told quite a number of people close to me, if Nigeria had not taken that measure as of that time when it did, and the pandemic broke out, and you have your staples being imported, only God knows where we would be right now. So I believe that it would not be easy, but the government actually starts from the government, because Nigerians have taken a lot of cuts. You have homes that have taken 20, 30, 40%, in some places 100% cut in their salary. Some homes have lost their job, and yet they're still running. The government can do this. If we are able to live without our comfort, the government should be able to take, reasonable costs in governance. I mean, that will take us there. If we can cut the cost of governance and channel the savings from there to sectors that would impact vulnerable sectors of the economy, segments of the economy, we're going to see a huge leap. It's going to be beyond what we are currently seeing. The people are ready, the people are willing, the government needs to be ready and willing with us. People are ready and want more disposable income in their pocket. So the government needs to be able to walk its talk.
All right there. Before I let you go, we talked about agriculture and price of food produce. I'm now looking at agriculture and insecurity. Do you see any negative effect with regards to this moving on in the year, with regards to price of food, price of farm produce and all of that?
Yeah, you can see there's an indirect correlation between the prices of food and insecurity. Insecurity goes well, I won't call it indirect. Insecurity goes up. If you look at the prices, insecurity goes up, price goes up. For production, insecurity goes up, production goes down. When production goes down, price will definitely have to go up. If the insecurity problem in this country can be tackled, insecurity is everywhere. People are not safe. Farmers are not ready to go to their farms. They are not willing to go farming. If that can be tackled, the food problem will be in a matter of not too long from now, maybe in 2-3 years, we should be able to move in surplus. Be able to feed ourselves and be able to export. But right now, we are not there. And the primary thing that the government needs to do, which I think I'm not the only one that has said that, so many people have said this, the government, I believe they know themselves, and I believe that the government is working towards it. The government, I believe, is really working towards it, but it doesn't seem to see the problem just keeps getting hydra-headed every time, develop more and more offshoots. If the government can get the root cause of security problems and tackle it, food insecurity will gradually become a thing of the past in our country.
Mr. Igbade, let's wrap up on this note. The expectations regards to COVID-19 vaccines and how effective these vaccines will be. In a few days, we expect Nigeria to also receive the first batch of vaccines, and also stability with regards to the COVID-19 cases. Reports coming also show that the deaths kind of dropped, but there's still deaths. And of course, continued implementation of some of these policies of governments. What do you see moving forward in 2021?
Yeah. Well, if I may talk to that, I would say I know firsthand that the federal government in the health sector, they've been trying to walk their talk, pumping money into putting some basic infrastructure in quite a number of tertiary hospitals across the country. And for the COVID-19 vaccine coming in, well, that doesn't mean that when the vaccine comes in, we should throw caution to the wind. The vaccine coming in, I think I've read it somewhere. It doesn't even really it can protect you from the effects of the virus, but it doesn't stop you from passing it on. So vaccines are coming in. That's going to give some level of confidence to some people, but we shouldn't just throw caution to the wind and think because the vaccine is here, we can do as we like. No, the threat is still there. The threat is real, and we all need to be responsible to ensure that we keep coronavirus back to where it came from.
I must appreciate you for your time. Thank you very much, Mrs. Yemisi Asholo-Igbade, the Finance Manager, JNC International Limited. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tolu, for having me once again.